Good evening to the residents of Monument Park West, and a warm welcome to you on this very cold evening. And a special warm welcome also to my guests, Pieter van Rooyen, Andrew van den Berg, and Theo Mini. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to also put up a presentation just to share guide this specific webinar. Okay, so just on the agenda for the webinar for this evening is a quick overview of the Monument Park West crime statistics. We'll be looking then, also speaking then to Andrew van den Berg from Linwood North, or they call it Linwood Gardens Estate. Then from Pieter van Rooyen of Waterkloof Reach Estate. And then I'll be going through the Monument Park West Security Enclosure project. And I'll also then be speaking to Theo Mini on the street CCTV neighborhood solution. And then we'll be calling on your support and also allowing for questions and answers. Just important throughout this webinar, you can post your questions live on YouTube. We'll try our best to respond to it during the webinar. And we will respond to all remaining questions also after the webinar. Okay, so if I can just quickly look at the Monument Park West crime statistics, you would have noticed that I have posted a short video clip from Frank van den Berg of the Community Policing Forum, the CPF, this morning to all the WhatsApp groups, indicating the latest crime statistics in Monument Park West. And what I would just like to quickly point out from that short video clip that Frank put together for us is that over the last 6 months, we've had 64 crime incidents in Monument Park West. 24 of them were house break-ins or burglaries. We had 16 incidents of attempted burglaries, 14 incidents of trespassing. Most of the incidents are in Macau Street. And what's also important to note is that about 90% plus of incidents in Monument Park West occur between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. in the morning. So you can see we've got quite a crime-ridden neighborhood at the moment. And I believe that it is within our hands to actually make it a safer neighborhood. And therefore, I would like to specifically speak to our two guests. The first one being Andrew van den Berg from the Linwood Gardens Estate, or it's also Linwood North. So Andrew, if you can perhaps share with us just your experience as Linwood North, after you have boomed off.
Yes,
so
certainly.
Let's start with, what was your crime statistics before booming off?
Okay, thank you, Vian. Thanks for the invite. It's a pleasure being with you. I can just tell you that we were in the same position as you are currently. We were crime-ridden to such an extent that even our patrols wasn't the solution to this thing anymore. So the onslaught got more and more by the week, and it varied from, like I looked at your stats just now, vehicles stolen or break-ins, but ours escalated, and it ended up in armed robbery. And then the armed robberies increased in the intensity of the armed robberies, where assault rifles and AK-47s and so forth were used in the robberies, and also residents being hurt badly. One of our guys being put to ICU for 3 months, and luckily he lived. So prior to our closure, I'll give you just the last incidents. We had house breakings, 3 positive house breakings just prior to our closure. Armed robberies is 4, serious armed robberies. Motor theft was 2, and attempted hijack 1. That was just the period just before we closed. I've got a full list of the statistics from my CPF here, which is a long list that I don't want to bore you with, but it's intense. And 3 years ago, we said to each other when we investigated the closure option, we said that patrols is not it's not sustainable, and we have to look at some other options, and we then decided on a closure. So the closure up to today, and if you look from 1 December till now, when we closed our booms, we haven't had one incident, not one single bicycle stolen. And compared to what I showed you just now, and what I told you just now, it is a drastic difference. So all it means is that a suburb closure does work. There's no doubt about that.
So Andrew, when did you close in Linwood North?
We decided long ago. Well, initially we said we're going to push this thing for the 1st of December 2020, and 2020 1st of December came and we weren't ready. But we made a decision that we said we were going to close then, and we did. So we took the shots, but we did lower our booms. And since we lowered the booms up to today, we haven't had one incident. The only incidents we had is people driving through the booms because they're not used to the stuff being there. But apart from that, no crime, nothing, a zero for us.
So what you're saying is you guys in December 2020, that's last year, you put up the booms and everything. And after you've put up the booms, you didn't have any crime incident. So that's up to now where we are in July. No crime incident in Linwood North.
Yeah, that's correct. We must understand that there was a period that we installed the stuff. There was a construction phase. So the booms and the islands and everything was installed and placed where they are now. But the actual lowering of the booms and then deploying the security happened on the 1st of December 2020. Since then, up to today, not a single incident, nothing.
Sure. So and before that, you had all those.
Yeah, we had bad crime. We were anybody looking at Linwood property wise just diverted. They weren't interested. Where we find now that I had a discussion long ago with Hilda Jennings from Realty One, and I asked her once, why is it that, for instance, Rubenkorp's properties would sell, and it doesn't even get in the market and it's sold, and ours stay in the market for 3, 4, 5, 6 months? The answer was simple: close the suburb and you'll see a different story. That is exactly what is happening now. We are in a position where people are moving in, they're buying again, young people, and it's a safe suburb. That's bottom line.
That's very interesting. I had a discussion with an estate agent this week, and they told me that the news is out, for example, that Monument Park West is also in the process of closing. And just because of us being in the process of closing, there's already a more keenness to actually buy into the suburb. Probably because our prices are still haven't skyrocketed yet as the closed suburbs have already. But it's just interesting that, it does really have an impact on your demand for your property. So, yes, thank you for sharing.
Definitely. There's at least 20% increase on property value after the closure, successful closure. There's no doubt about it.
That's interesting.
And that's added to someone's value. So it's just a no-brainer. Close the suburb and have the benefits of a safe suburb, and also property that's in demand. Because similar to ours, yours is very well situated, and it's an awesome suburb. So you'll see, once it's closed, there's a demand to stay there.
Andrew, Jen, just a question from my side. What did you guys do? What was the solution that you implemented, and why did it work?
You mean the solution being? closing the suburb.
You obviously just didn't put in booms, but you probably put in some other things, the solution in its totality.
Yeah, we looked at the whole closure, and we said, okay, we made a list of what we need to do, and as we sit here, we're still adding. So we started off with the guardhouses, obviously the islands, then the booms, then the guardhouses, then the infrastructure of optic fiber, then our cameras, and then also we decided each thing we did, we investigated in full, and we decided to go for a company, I won't mention names, a certain company to do the monitoring for us. They're situated in Joburg. We went there, we looked at the control room, and we were very impressed with what happens there. So we decided to go with them. We decided to go for the best cameras on the market, and also signed a lease on the cameras. So when there's new stuff coming on the market, like laptops and so, they would, like with the computers, they will upgrade the cameras for us and include it in the thing. Then we installed lockable gates. We installed electric fences on our perimeters. So the whole process of closing the suburb was not just booms and islands and guardhouses and lights. We added more lights. We added more cameras that was needed, electric fences, and we walked the extra mile to really try and make our suburb very safe. So yeah, it worked for us.
Thank you, Andrew. And then just lastly, what is your advice for Monument Park West?
Guys, I can tell you, as a resident from my suburb, I was very involved with this process. From the beginning, I started the patrols long ago when we were crime-ridden. We had no answers. Even our patrols wasn't the answer, and they still eat us. So from my side, I can tell all your residents listening to this clip, you must join. There is no doubt about this. It is the only solution to crime in our city. What is going to happen if you don't close, or you haven't got the cooperation of your suburb, and people just say, well, why should we close? The simple reason is that all the suburbs surrounding, like Peter's suburb, like ours, like Waterkloof Reach, the Elephant and Orion Street, one is busy with the thing. Waterkloof is busy closing, they've got permission. I'm helping Menlo Park a bit, they're busy. Brooklyn is busy, Makkelneuk is busy, Linwood Reach is busy, Linwood Manor, Linwood Glen West is closed, Linwood Glen East is closed now, Ferry Glen is busy, Garsfontein. So what it will mean is, in the end, it is not very difficult to get that. You're going to be sitting ducks. The only thing that happens, we push the crime out. So when we closed, we pushed it towards Menlo Park and maybe Brooklyn and Makkelneuk. And obviously when they close, it rolls on to the next suburb. Crime's never going to end. So I would say there's no doubt about it. It's a no-brainer. For anyone sitting there, I've went through this thing from the beginning. Don't be the difficult guy in your suburb. Don't be the oak that say, well, I'm not going to be part of this thing. Be part of it from the beginning, and make the committee's hands strong, and close your suburb, because it's the only solution to the onslaught. That's it.
Thank you, Andrew. Then just the questions I've been seeing coming in from the viewers. Do you have perhaps just an idea for us of how much it costed Linwood North, the project in totality?
With everything we added up to now, it stands just over 4 million, I would guess 4.2 million. It's a rough estimate. The initial amount was 3.7 million, but there was stuff that it was never included, and we never asked for it to be included in the tender. So we obviously added it. So we in the same position where we from the beginning we said, all right, let's close the suburb with the lesser amount for each household possible. So we made a decision to do it that way, and in the end, we hosted functions and stuff to get extra money accumulated, and then with that, we did the other things. So we never went to the suburb again. Once the budget was drafted, we stuck to that, and then afterwards, we added about, I would say, 500,000 Rand to the original budgeted amount.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. Yeah, so it's 4.2 million more or less.
About 4.2, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thanks. All right. Thanks, Andrew. I know you've got another meeting, and thank you very much for coming tonight. I do appreciate it. I would then like to give over to Peter. Peter is from Waterkloof Reach Estate, the one we also know Monument Park. It's close there to the Dross. Peter, you've been closed since 2009, so one of the longest suburbs that's actually been closed and boomed off in Pretoria. If you can just share with us, your experience. I don't know if you have the statistics back in the day before you closed, and what's been your experience over the last 12 years since you have closed off.
Thanks, Rian. Yeah, our statistics, just start off with that. To give you an indication, we closed off in December 2009. And during that year, we had 78 incidents. Now, to put that in perspective, we are 184 houses in our estate in the area. So that was enormous. So there were everything. Break-ins quite a lot. We had a gentleman killed here, Colonel De Wachter. What was his name? I think De Wachter. He was killed in a house robbery here. Me and my family were abducted in our house in 2009. So it was wild. Hijacks, the whole tutti. So we then closed off in 2009. It did not go to zero immediately. Our challenge, and I believe you'll have the same challenge, was the quarry, the quarry area that's now developed into the Waterkloof Marina Estate. So that was the biggest challenge because we battled to close that off. So, but it still dropped. I mean, in 2010 we had 29 incidents, of which most were minor incidents. So we did not get those. Go into a house and clean the house type of thing. That did not happen anymore. From there onwards, it dropped down to more or less six to 10 incidents per year. We had a very bad year in 2015, but that came from the quarry. So at that time, what we did at the quarry, we had the electrical fence already. We put in another fence, and we had the beams, checking the monitor beams that were monitored by the security company. So after 2015, we had four incidents per year. We had a little bit of a bad streak in 2018, but we then established that was an internal situation. So one of your challenges that you'll have to look at is when people rent out their houses, you have no control over it, like you'll have in a Woodlands or a Woodhill type of estate. So there were people rented a house and then they operated from within. So that was one of the challenges that we still have. And I'll tell you a little bit later how we curbed that now. Since April 2020 until now, we had 0 incidents. We had one in April, again an internal incident where a cell phone was stolen. The lady was smoking on a veranda after 12 and 2 men came and took a cell phone. But that was also when somebody staying within the estate. We actually identified this person, handed it over to police, and nothing happened with that. But be it as it may, but since April 2020, no incidents, literally nothing. We stay in heaven, people. It's amazing. Old folks and young people are walking around in the streets, even after dark, having a ball. So it's really going well since then.
So you say the last incident was April last year. So it's more than a year that you've had any incident in the neighborhood. So that's amazing. And what you're telling me, what I'm picking up is that even if you closed off with the beams, if your outer perimeters are not secured, your fences and borders, you're going to still experience problems.
Yeah, you must be, and I know you guys got challenges. You've got quite a long border.
Yes.
That on the other side, there's an open felt. So that will be one of your challenges. What we did with that, we had a palisade fence with a electric fence within that. And it was from the ground right up to. So coincidentally, they never broke that fence. It's interesting. They never cut that fence, although it was monitored. What happened was we've got a large area where houses in our estate, the back fences are bordering the quarry, and we had incidents from there where they managed to climb over that electrical fence and intruded the houses. But so that will be one of your challenges, is to really make sure that you secure your borders, because that that is just the soft area that you have. That is one of your biggest.
And then the other issue you also picked up was internal. So it's internal, where people live in the area and they're still in the area that they live.
Yeah, that's terrible, but that is unfortunately what we had. What we did to curb that, we then installed cameras, but we did it we did not have as much money as our predecessor has spoken to. So we did it ourselves. We installed cameras, monitored reactively. So you can. We have got recordings of everything, but we also we had these trail cameras that they use on game farms. And when we expected a house, we'll install it there and monitor it then. And the moment people see those cameras, they tend to not carry on with their activities. So that worked for us. So we've got about 10
and 9 at the main gate.
In the main gate we've got cameras, and then at the other gates and in the streets on strategic corners we have cameras that we use. But it's obvious, it's there. Anybody can see the camera. It's not hidden.
Okay, so my takeaway from this conversation then is that in Monument Park West, because we've got the veld on the one end, and then the nature reserve on the other end, and then the R21 on the other end, and then the Solomon Mshlangu part. So we have to be very sharp in actually securing our borders. Electric fence seems to do the job, but it has to be monitored, and cameras might also need to be installed to monitor our borders. And then within, we will have to look at cameras within the neighborhood as well for those internal activities.
Yeah, most definitely so, Okay. And obviously your entrances, you must monitor your entrances must be controlled. I always said, and I spoke to, what is your colleague, the chairperson?
Johan Echter.
Yeah, we've spoken over the years. You have got the ideal neighborhood because you've got two entrances. Yes. In this small neighborhood, we have 5, 6. So all the other roads are monitored by gates that the residents have remotes for that. So that is a challenge, because it happens from time to time that people will walk through the gate when you drive through it. There's nothing we can do about that. You can't stop them. Legally, you'll see you can't stop somebody who wants to walk through your neighborhood. That's the problem with the gated community. But even so, it's not those people that break in. They are, more often than not, they are employees working at the houses. Your biggest advantage of a closed suburb is the fact that people can't sit in your neighborhood and watch your houses and spy on your houses and then organize the crime. So the fact that people can't drive through and they can't walk through and sit here and monitor and check what's going on, that is one of your biggest advantage. Because you haven't got, even somebody can drive through your gate. You can't stop them. You can control them. You can stop them and, ask where they're going and so forth. But you can't prevent them from entering. But even with that, the crime statistic says it all. So that's your biggest advantage. You control the people. Now they'll go to another neighborhood that are not monitored. So that's the advantage of this.
Okay. Peter, thank you very much for also availing your time tonight. I do appreciate it. And yes, all the best to you in Waterkloof. We'll definitely come knocking for advice as we implement, because I think you've learned the lessons, which hopefully we don't have to learn the hard way. So all the best.
You're more than welcome, Jan. We'll set up a meeting with your committee, and we can share a lot of information on how to deal with this and how to monitor it and the payments and all those, and WhatsApp groups and all those wonderful pains that we have. When I started off with this whole thing in 2000, Jan, I had as much hair as you. So
Okay. Thanks, Peter.
Good luck with that.
Thank you very much.
Cheers,
Okay, all the best. Bye-bye. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so that was Andrew van den Berg and from Linwood North, who recently closed up, and then Peter van Rooyen from Waterkloof Ridge, who closed up in 2009 already. So I think it was just good to have a chat with them and just also get their experiences, after closing up their suburbs. Then what I would like to do now is to take us just through the presentation further on where we are currently with our project. And then Theo Mini, who's patiently waiting, will then also take us through a component of our bigger project, which is the street CCTV initiative, neighborhood initiative. So Theo will then also speak to that specifically. So just give me a moment. Let me just open that presentation up again. Okay. Just a reminder, again, you can post your questions live on YouTube, and we'll try our best to obviously respond during the webinar. Where we can't respond, we obviously respond to the questions after the webinar by posting it on YouTube. Right, so if we're looking at our Monument Park Security Enclosure Project, or the Boomhoff Project, as we also refer to it, what is our vision for our suburb? In Monument Park, we also want to create a safe and attractive neighborhood, like Linwood Gardens Estate and Waterkloof Ridge Estate. So how do we do it? We start off with implementing the Security Enclosure Project, or the Boomhoff Project. So what does our Security Enclosure Project entail? As you can see on this map here, what the Security Enclosure Project entails is a 24/7 hour manned entrances here at Macau Street, as well as there at Veldpost Street. As Peter said, our neighborhood is ideally situated for an enclosure, because we only have got 2 entrances really that needs to be manned. So at these 2 entrances, that's where the booms will be installed, as well as the guardhouses and the gates. This part here at Macau, it will have 2 booms, because you have to have a certain number of meters for vehicles. So there will be 2 on both sides here at Macau. The red one will be 24/7 hour monitored by a security guard, and the blue one will only be monitored during the day here at Macau, and during the evenings it will be locked up, so that we can then close it off with a gate during the evenings, and then you can also then save on a security guard, because then you only need 1 security guard during the evening on this side. And at Veldpo Street, that will be 24/7 monitored with a security guard there 24/7. There will be one dedicated patrol vehicle. There will also be a camera system with license plate recognition and facial recognition cameras at the entrances here at Macau as well as at Veldpo. We will also have a camera system and electric fences all along our outer perimeter, as you can see on this map. So like Pieter van Rooyen just indicated, the weakness in Waterkloof Ridge was the quarry, and it was because of their outer perimeter not being properly secured. So in our suburb, it's going to be important to secure our outer perimeter as well, and that's why we will put in an electrical fence as well as cameras, which is 24/7 monitored. And the electrical fence will be zoned, so you will know if there's a break in the fence, you will know where it is happening, and the control room can immediately notify the security force on the ground for them to respond to that specific area as there's a breakage in the outer perimeter. All right. Then just an off-site control room monitoring that will also be established. Then we also do internally in the neighborhood, we will do the CCTV neighborhood solution. And that Theo Mini will speak to a bit later on that initiative, as we would like to start with that already. And then also, we'll have a coordinated safety plan with the CPF, the police, and the security companies, and then obviously professional administration and bookkeeping of the initiative once it's operational, and now while we're doing each phase. So just a quick look of some examples of neighborhoods that closed up. Here you can see Groenkloof with the fences that the boomed gates they installed with their guardhouses and the islands and so on. Here you can see the example of the sliding gates that's closed during the evening with the booms. And then just important to note that this booms allows 300 vehicles per lane per hour, so you won't have blockages. There will be a free thoroughfare. Emergency and service vehicles will be uninterrupted. So just to mention that that's a type of solution being implemented that it won't have an impact on the traffic flow. Cameras will adhere to all legal statuses as well as the data, the new POPI Act, all that will be adhered to. It will have license plate recognition, pan and tilt functionality, zoom functionality. It will also be used to monitor the guards that they are doing their work at the entrances. Have movement detection, and also obviously linking to the control rooms. Just here's an example, typical of your license plate recognition, where the license plate is scanned, and that is then ran across a database of suspicious vehicles or stolen vehicles. And if it's picked up that this is a suspicious or stolen vehicle, then the security on the ground will, or the control room will immediately inform the security on the ground to respond to the specific vehicle. Here's some examples of fences. That fence you probably know, that's the one in Groenkloof. There's some other examples of diamond lens fencing with the electrical fence. Just examples of monitored pedestrian gates. Our suburb will also have pedestrian gates for people working in the area or not only people working in the area, but people also using the pedestrian gates for either going to jog or walk or whatever. So there will be monitored pedestrian gates as well. Proper markings and signage, like you can see there in Groenkloof and Manor Estate, as well as, on the roads and so on, as part of this initiative. And we'll also make sure there's proper lighting at specific points. The security guards will have a manual override where needed. They will obviously be trained to handle crisis situations, to assist visitors and answer questions. And they will also make sure that proper procedures are followed. They will also obviously have proper training and supervision. And just important to note, they may not search or prevent entrance, as this is still public roads, but they may monitor. 24/7 control center monitoring, that will be in place. And just important to note that there will be no discrimination in terms of age or race or gender who comes into the suburb, but the individuals coming into the suburb will, however, be monitored. Pictures taken of the driver and the vehicle, and the time will be recorded, number plates photographed, and there will also be emergency power installed for continuity. I think just to reiterate, the benefits of closure, as Pieter van Rooyen and Andrew van den Berg already indicated, we'll have a safer neighborhood for young and old. We'll have more peace of mind and improved living conditions. It will be easier to sell our property or rent it out. And our return on investment, I think, is brilliant. With only 15,000 Rand, we'll have an increase of between 100,000 to 300,000 Rand in property value. We'll have obviously reduced short-term insurance premiums, and obviously we can, through collective bargaining, bargain for cheaper armed reaction and alarm monitoring and all those things. I would then just to also like to speak to the security enclosure project overview of where we are currently in the project. So the project has 3 phases. Phase 1 was the application phase. Phase 2 is the construction phase, and in phase 3 is the operational phase. If we're looking at phase 1, we have collected deposit 1, and we've completed that. We have also obtained sufficient consent. We've obtained a 70% margin of consent to submit the application to Tshwane. And we have also prepared and submitted our application to Tshwane. So approval from Tshwane is currently in process. Then we've also started to then move over to phase 2, which is the collecting of deposit 2. And then once we have sufficient funds for phase 2, which is the procurement and direction of booms, the cameras, electric fences, etc., and we've obtained approval from Tshwane, we can then obviously start with the construction and direction of those booms and fences and cameras and so on. So just to reiterate, before we can start with the construction, we'll have to have approval from Tshwane, and we should have sufficient funds. Those are the 2 enabling conditions: approval from Tshwane and sufficient funds. Once everything has been erected, we will then move over to phase 3, which entails obviously the 24/7 guarding services at the entrances, as well as the 24/7 control room monitoring all the cameras on the outer perimeter, the electric fences, as well as the security guards that's doing their work at the entrances. And we'll also be monitoring the CCTV street camera initiatives, which includes cameras within the suburb. And on the CCTV street camera initiative, we'll be speaking to Theo Mini just after this presentation on that one specifically, as we would like to start with that initiative now already. All right, so I would just want to do a quick overview then over phase one, the application phase. As I've said, we have obtained sufficient funding through deposit one to prepare and submit the application. We obtained 70% consent, and we prepared and submitted the application to Tshwane in February 2021. 11 departments in Tshwane has already provided feedback on the application. We are awaiting feedback from 3 departments, namely Roads and Transport, Water and Sanitation, and Community and Social Development Services. Just important to note, I have spoken to the official in Tshwane yesterday, and his indication is that the current hold up in Tshwane has mainly to do with the COVID regulations, where they're only at 50% staff capacity in the office, and that is the main reason for the hold up at the moment. But we will continue to follow up and continue to push for our application to receive the necessary attention. What's also just an important thing to note is that with the deposit one, we managed to realize a saving of 90,000 Rand, thanks to Soltech that sponsored our traffic impact study. And this saving of 90,000 Rand will therefore be carried forward towards phase two for paying the expenses in phase two. Then in terms of phase two, the construction phase overview. So we started in March 2021 with the collection of deposit two, and to date we've already received 611,000 Rand. That's 19.2%. I can say that this last 2 weeks the funds have, I can see an increase in funds coming in and people starting to buy in. So I would really like to encourage the residents to really start to buy in. We are building a good momentum, but we need people to contribute. We're not out of the woods yet. Then from July, where we are now onwards, we started to raise more public awareness to the project, and that is to increase buy-in. We really need the funds. And we would also like to launch the Street CCTV Neighborhood Initiative. Now in this year, December, we're aiming to have approval from Tshwane for the project. So I know that sounds long because we're now only in July, but you know, with the current slow progress, I think December is a good month to aim for. Then we hope to have sufficient funds by May 2022. That's next year, but that is only if everybody will really start to contribute now. Then we can have sufficient funds by May 2022 next year. We can then in June to July next year start with the procurement and construction of the booms and the fences and so on, and for us to then go operational by August 2022. So that's more or less a year from now, but that is if everybody really now start to contribute. What is important to note is that you know, these timeframes of May to August can be shortened if the community expedites their contributions towards the project. So it is really entirely within our hands as a community on how quickly we would like to see this booms going up, the fences going up, and the cameras going up. And therefore, I really encourage the community to start with their contributions. Just to indicate that was the cost per phase for deposit 1. I can say that we've had a huge saving for deposit 1. It wasn't nearly the 514,000 Rand. We saved, as I've indicated, 90,000 Rand on phase 1, which will carry forward towards phase 2. Phase 2, the construction phase, currently at 3.1 million, 3.175 million. Now you will note that Andrew van den Berg said their whole project costed 4.2 million. So, even our project is still far below what their entire project costed. And then our operational phase, the monthly one, is 223,000 Rand per month. I will just be quickly going through the construction phase costs. Your professional services is 53,000 Rand for your engineer, and then tender procurement processes, advice on that. And then if you look at the construction phase costs, erecting all these different components, that's where the big funds goes towards that. So I would just like to highlight the few big ones. The main entrances being your booms, your roadworks, your islands at the 3 main entrances at 645,000 Rand. The cameras at all the entrances and along the outer perimeter costed at 524,000 Rand. And your fences all around our outer perimeter, which is, by the way, 5 kilometers, the fence that will need to be installed. And we're looking at installing 18-strand electrical fence from top to bottom as far as possible, and 6-strand where it's not possible. We will have to install it on existing fences. That costed at 830,000 Rand. And then obviously we're saving quite a lot on financial management and administration, only 15,000 Rand for phase 2. And that is because Primo Properties took over the financial management and administration of the project from Braxton Curva, and Primo Properties also doing this free of charge to the community as their contribution to the community because Primo Properties are also situated within Monument Park West. And then project management fees at 50,000 Rand. Right, so in total, the construction phase is estimated at 3.175 million Rand. And then your operational phase, 223,000 Rand per month. I'm not going to go into the details of the costs. I will be sharing this presentation on the WhatsApp group, so you're welcome to go through it then and then ask any questions. But just important that it works out to plus minus 700 per month for residential units and 175 Rand per month for complex units. Obviously, as more members join in to the scheme, we can bring that 700 Rand per month even further down. All right. So that is how much each unit will need to contribute for phase 2. Your residential units, it's 15,000 Rand for phase 2. That's units outside of complexes. Complex units, 3,750 Rand for phase 2. Your large businesses, 30,000 Rand. And your small to medium businesses, the same as residential units, 15,000 Rand towards phase 2. These contributions does not have to be paid once off. You can pay it in 12 payments, 1 per month, or 6 payments. So these are the options. 1 tranche of 15,000 Rand, 6 tranches of 2,500 Rand per month, or 12 tranches of 1,250 Rand per month. So just to make it possible to do the contributions. On your complexes, it's 3,750 Rand per month, then 6 tranches of 625 Rand per month, and then 12 tranches of 312 Rand 50 per month. So please do make your contributions. I think it's doable in those monthly tranches. It's not big amounts all at once. Also for large businesses, if the large businesses can also please assist us and also make their contributions towards the project. Very, very important. Please take note that of the new bank account that's used for phase 2 contributions, the one at First National Bank. Please do not use the previous bank account. The previous bank account is under the trusteeship of Paxton Curvar, the previous management agent, and our services with Paxton Curvar has been cancelled. Please do not use the previous bank account. Please use the new bank account for phase 2 contributions. Also, when you make a contribution, please put your street number and street name as reference. For example, 516 Veldpo, or your complex and unit number, for example, Excelsior number 1. And your contact person for phase 2 at Primo Properties is Christelle Kotze, and that is her contact details, which has also been circulated via the WhatsApp groups. All right, as I've said, you can post your questions live on YouTube. We'll try our best to respond during the webinar, but we will respond to everything after the webinar. And that brings me to the end of my part of the presentation on the current project, where we are. And I will then also now be handing over to Theo Mini. Theo.
Hi, Vian.
So Theo, you've sent me a short video clip or presentation. I just need to quickly open in order to just indicate what the Street CCTV Neighborhood Initiative is about.
Sure. I think while you're doing that, I can maybe start explaining where I'm coming from.
Yes.
And what the whole initiative is for my proposal. So yeah, I've been in the industry, actually the security industry and technology, for over 20 years, and being involved at residential estates like Centurion Golf Estate, Pebble Rock Golf Estate, some BC Country Estate. There's a couple of estates. That's all of my clients at the moment that we're looking after, all their security systems and so on. So the whole idea is, like I explained to you, is obviously to use what we have at the moment, to put something together to, while we're waiting for this, all the funds to come in and so on, to make the whole solution to come in working, to put something together for all our safety. So yeah, I can explain, if you can put that presentation on, and we can go through the presentation, and yeah, we take it further from there.
Okay, thanks, Theo. I would just like to quickly just open it up. Okay. Is it showing, Stu?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Theo, you're welcome to go ahead.
Okay, if you can just pause it with the slideshows, that we can stop at each slideshow, so I can just take you guys through it. Just to start off, also, I'm also a resident in Monument Park West. So this whole solution is for beneficial of everybody, not just myself. So what the plan is, or what the solution or the proposal is basically to, yeah, can you pause it there, Vian?
Okay, I'll try my best.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Okay, we as a community, obviously, of Monument Park West aim to make use of residents' existing CCTV cameras with a street view, which are compatible with the monitoring system. So what I'm saying here is, like myself, and what I notice is in our suburb or our area is there is a couple of residents that I noticed that have a camera showing on the streets. So the idea is to basically use the existing cameras in our area. Obviously, should there be an internet connection where we can pull in the camera to a monitoring system. So yeah, if you can go to the next one. All right, the reason for the proposal, the CCTV cameras that are compatible with the monitoring system, will help with a live view of movement in our neighborhood with an arming schedule that can be used during specific hours. The CCTV cameras will be monitored by a monitoring company, or obviously open for discussion. If I understand correctly, it will be like a monitoring control room that can be used for these cameras to be monitored with. Okay, so then the next thing is what will the community benefit from this solution? During arming schedules, suspect vehicles will be monitored and can be followed. A person on foot will be monitored and can be followed. If there's any alarm activation in our neighborhood, we will be able to use the street view cameras on any movement to assist catching these suspects. Do you want to ask something, Vian?
Theo, I think you can take me through the presentation, then I'll ask a few questions maybe just afterwards.
Let's do that. Okay. Different arming detections that we have. Obviously, it depends on what type of cameras we will get into, or what type of cameras the residents have that we can use. Different detections that we can use is a motion detection. If there's any movement or motion, the camera will detect and it will alarm the control room. Or otherwise, your most effective solutions is like intrusion detection with a line crossing or something like that. Obviously with motion there will be some false alarms by cats and stuff like that going through it, but yeah, I think at the end of the day it will keep the controller awake. So yeah, then the next the next slideshow actually just shows you this is actually my own property, where this is my camera that I'm showing to you guys at the moment. We have actually pulled the intrusion detection area on the road. So any vehicle that passes through that intrusion area alarms the control monitoring system, and immediately you get notified. And then you'll see actually at my gate, this is just for my own benefit, I have a line that crosses my perimeter. So if somebody climbs over there, it's a virtual line. So it's not something that you can actually see outside, but it's on the camera itself, where if somebody passes that line, it notifies you as well.
So what you're saying here, Theo, is that through these cameras that's looking onto the street, one can draw these intrusion lines virtually over the street, and you can, for example, put a time on it that if there's an intrusion between our critical times, which is 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. in the mornings, if there's movement that breaks those lines, that you will immediately be notified of this, and then one can actually go onto the camera and immediately view if it's a false alarm or whether it is indeed a suspicious crossing,
Movement.
breaking of the line.
Correct.
Okay. And what you're also saying, then the idea with the initiative is to use community members who already have street cameras that's looking onto the streets to pull all that together in a control room with these intrusion lines as far as possible, if the cameras allows it, on the streets to actually monitor movement, in our streets, especially during our critical crime times, which is 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning.
That's correct, Vian. Yes.
Okay.
Obviously, I mean, at the end of the day, before we can make this possible or agree on anything, we'll get to that now, but we're going to have to, I mean, I'm willing, like I explained to you, to use my people in my company to do the assessment for the community. And I think that's my 5 cents that I can give to actually go see if the cameras are compatible, if we can use it. So then we can give feedback from there on to see if we can make this doable.
Okay. All right, I'm just going on.
Perfect. Okay, the next slideshow is basically just the monitoring platform that I've used. I've pulled in 1 or 2 cameras at some of my clients, and then also my own street, where I'm just showing that it's possible to pull in multiple cameras from different addresses or different sites.
Okay. And is there any limitation on the number of cameras that can be pulled in, or it's endless?
Not at all. It's endless. We can take a couple of cameras. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then the next slide is basically just the event center, where this is basically more for the operator in the control room. We have where you have an event center where if there's a alarm that's taking place, that it it pops up on the event center, where you can view the alarm and see what happened, and you can acknowledge it and put a reason for that, or actually respond, or however we can whatever the procedure is that we're going to follow when we get a suspicious movement.
Okay. All right. So this is the alerting once those lines are broken, basically.
Correct. Yeah. You'll see the next slide is basically that shows you where the analytic that's drawn on the street. There's a car coming on, and the lights already, just by showing the lights on that intrusion detection, it actually triggered already. So it goes red and it notifies the control room. So that's just the alarm playback that's taking place there at the moment. And then the next sliding show, you'll see there's some alarm detail that shows where you can actually go check what happened. It gives you some detail there. I'm not sure if everybody can see what's happening there, but it gives you address. It gives you, I think, all the detail necessary to see exactly where the event took place.
Okay. All right. So that actually then helps for a much more focused response to where the intrusion is actually taking place, which your security on the ground can then be notified from the control room to provide a response to those specific areas.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, and that slideshow is basically shows you where you'll see there's actually a remark that was added. You can put anything in there like unknown vehicle, driving slow, and it looks suspicious or whatever. You can put any reason in there for the alarm that took place. So at the end of the day, if you go back and you pull reports and stuff, you can actually go pull the reasons for the alarm or for the movement that took place at that camera.
Okay. All right, and that's a way to actually monitor as well that the control room is also doing their work,
Correct.
from the resident side.
That's it, that we don't miss anything, that, we can go back and go see what happened in our neighborhood.
Okay.
Okay, and that's what I've done. There's basically a mobile app. So what the mobile app basically do is, it's also open for discussion, that there's multiple people that can have the mobile app that can also have access to these cameras, or that can receive the alarms, the intrusion detections, or the movement to their mobile phones. That can also help. If you guys think it's a good idea, so it's just an extra.
So that's almost like if one wants to establish almost something like an electronic patrolling unit, where we've currently got the CPF. We've currently got the CPF doing the patrolling with vehicles. One can almost establish a community electronic patrolling unit that also monitors via the cameras.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. All right. So what you're also saying is the security control room can have access, but selected community members can also have access if they're part of the initiative to patrol the area, from maybe especially in those specific critical times.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's just a clip where I showed a vehicle that was actually Brinan driving past, and it's just a video clip to show you how the video will look like when there's movement.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
and then sorry, Vian.
Yes, Theo.
Okay, and then obviously the solution will be to have as many cameras in our neighborhood as possible to monitor any suspicious movement. So I mean, obviously, like I explained, the whole idea is to use whatever we can, existing infrastructure if possible. So that will be the ideal solution. I think at the end of the day, it will be a big saving for everybody to use what we can. So yeah, that's a suggestion.
Thank you very much, Theo. So with this initiative, Theo, that's your contact details. And what we're trying to do as a community with this specific initiative is to obviously use existing infrastructure that's already there from members of our community to monitor within the neighborhood and have a coordinated monitoring. Especially if you think, this solution can especially work for our critical crime periods, which is from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. in the mornings, to especially have those breakage lines, mapped across our streets. So because they should, with this lockdown regulations, there should be no movement that time of the night in our neighborhood. So having said that, what you're saying, what should first be done is an assessment of the cameras within the area, of those community members that's sticking up their hand and saying, yes, we are willing to make our camera available that's looking onto the street for this initiative. And then you will come, your company's members will then come out and look at the camera and see, what the specs are on the specific camera, to determine what's possible with that specific camera. And then once you've done that assessment, you'll then provide that to the Residents Association, basically to say, what's possible and what's not on the different streets and so on, for the community members that said they would like to participate and make their cameras available.
Correct, yes, yeah, that's correct.
That's correct. Okay, so Theo, You are obviously doing this free of charge. I think that's just important also to note for the community members that you're doing this assessment for the community free of charge, because you're also a member of the community. You're staying there in Solbach, and that you will be, assessing, saying to the community, if you've got a camera looking onto the street, we're asking you to please make it available. Stick up your hand saying you would like to participate in this initiative, and then contact Theo Mini. You have his contact details there. They will then come out for free, do the assessment, and then also provide that back to the Residents Association, who can then look at, what will be the cost implications and so on, to make this operational in the sense of putting up the control room or buying the control room services on a month-to-month basis for this initiative. But I think the first thing we need to do is to do an assessment of the cameras, and obviously to call on the members of the community to make their cameras available that's looking onto the streets. And I think also for those community members that has cameras on the border, and specifically I'm thinking of Edelvalk, where they've got a number of cameras looking, on Groenkloof Nature Reserve, that we're calling on them as well, to make their cameras available for this specific initiative.
Yeah, and Vian, just to mention one or two things. If the residence is concerned about any privacy and network privacy and cameras, that's if they have multiple cameras showing into their own yards and so on, obviously the whole setup will be that we'll just pull in cameras that they allow us to be pulled in. And then, if they have any questions regarding network issues and firewalls and all that stuff, that the guys can have access to their private network and so on, they're welcome to send me an email, so I can answer all their calls. My number is there, but I don't always answer, as I'm quite busy and so on with other projects as well. So they're welcome to send me email to theo@itssystems.co.za, and I'll answer all the questions like I get them as soon as I can.
Okay, thanks, Theo. So all technical questions, you can email Theo or phone him. If he doesn't answer his phone, you're welcome to just send him the email. I'll also circulate his email address and cell phone number on the WhatsApp groups. But I think we're calling on the community, if you've got a camera looking on the street, to avail it for this initiative. As Theo said, it is possible to isolate those cameras looking on the street from the rest of your cameras within your property, obviously for your own privacy and so on. But yes, I think our call is to the community. We've got cameras looking on the street to avail that. And then also, Theo, you also send us through maybe a technical spec or something for those that might not have cameras on the street, but saying maybe we want to install a camera to be part of this initiative. So, Theo, will you then send us maybe some spec or something that we can circulate to the community for those that wants to install a camera, maybe looking on the street, and then avail that for the initiative?
I'll definitely do that. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you, Theo. All right, so Theo, thank you very much for waiting up until now. I see it's already 8:15, so I really appreciate it. And also thank you for helping the community out with this specifically. It's really appreciated. And yes, from our side, just thank you once again.
It's a pleasure, Vian. No problem.
Okay. All right. So community members, just some last things from my side before I end off this presentation. I think for you, I've asked you all those questions, and that's your contact number. I just want to share the screen. All right, that's Theo's contact number. I'll also send you his email address. Then lastly, this is my call to the Monument Park residents to please get involved. I think very important, please contribute your deposit too. We need to get our perimeter secured. We need to get the booms up. Also, please make your camera available that's looking onto the street for the street CCTV neighborhood initiative. And we are also calling on the residents in the area. If you would like to volunteer to be a street representative, please volunteer. We really need you as part of this project. You need to be, strengthen our hands to speak to the people in your different streets and get a hold of them. It's really difficult for a few of us to really get to all the members in the community. So we really need your help as street representatives to also volunteer and be involved in the initiative. Right, and then just lastly, that is my contact details with my cell phone number and also my email address. I'll also circulate this presentation, as I said, via the WhatsApp groups, so you can contact me and also get a hold of me, with regards to anything on the project. And community, I would really like to thank you for your participation up to now and your support. We really encourage those that have not yet started to contribute to please start with your contributions. As you've seen from as you've heard from the other communities, it made a significant difference in the safety of their neighborhood when they secured their outer perimeters, when they put up the booms, and also when they put up these cameras internally. To do the internal monitoring. It's always better to have your enemy outside than to have them inside. So that's why we need to get the fences up and the booms up. But if they are inside, then we need to be able to catch them and see what they're doing internally. So that's why we need the CCTV neighborhood initiative that's currently we currently want to start to initiate. So from my side, have a good evening, keep warm, and thank you for availing your time to listen to this. All the best.